Mr. Caruso, you mentioned that many aspiring opera singers might be misled into believing they have what it takes, while they often lack qualities such as wisdom, stage presence, or broad musical knowledge. How would you advise those who aspire to an opera career to better assess themselves and avoid being misled by false perceptions or irresponsible teaching? Do you have any special advice for these beginners?
Cruiser 18. All great artists experience stage fright. Singers who have performed for many years in the world's greatest theaters might be expected to overcome the worst aspect of public performances, stage fright. However, this is far from the truth. In fact, it often seems to be the opposite. The more passionately an artist develops, the more deeply they feel what they are singing, and the more fully they comprehend the music, the more intense their nervous tension becomes. It goes without saying that this nervousness is even stronger on the opening night of an opera season or during the premiere of a new opera. Although the degree varies, the nervous tension of all great singers determines their fate. Observing the different manifestations of this state is quite interesting. Some people display their nervousness through irritability, becoming argumentative. In such cases, the poor costume managers, makeup artists, and generally all stage workers, as well as colleagues who happen to encounter the nervous singer before their first appearance, find them difficult to handle. Sometimes their anger even spills over onto everyone around them. Other singers' nervousness manifests in a stern, cold facial expression, with their faces turning pale. Some become hysterical, alternating between laughing and crying over trivial matters. I once saw a highly popular, physically strong, 6-foot-tall bass singer pacing back and forth in the theater long before his entrance, with tears streaming down his face. On another occasion, a famous coloratura soprano, just before an opera was about to begin, let out a few tremulous notes due to her agitation, and then choked up, saying, "Look, this is all I can sing. What right do I have to go on stage and perform?" I myself have experienced stage fright on multiple occasions, though not to such a severe degree. Sometimes, nervous tension results in a lack of engagement in the performance, inaccuracies in singing, etc. It is completely fair to criticize such performers. Although they may overcome these flaws as the performance progresses, the audience and critics often give the entire production a negative review because they noticed imperfections at the beginning, flaws that arose precisely due to the singer's extreme nervousness. I have already described various forms of nervous tension before going on stage, but I would like to say a few more words about its practical significance. There are two types of nervous tension. One stems from an awareness of the performer's responsibility on stage, while the other arises from a lack of confidence in their own abilities. If a performer feels no sense of responsibility for their performance, they will, of course, remain indifferent. Usually, once an artist steps onto the stage, they no longer feel nervous. As I mentioned earlier, even if a singer feels unwell on the day of a performance, once they appear before the audience, they forget everything and focus solely on their art. Their confidence in the correct vocal techniques they have mastered gives them great strength. However, it is absolutely certain that once a singer has mastered proper breathing techniques, nervousness will not affect their vocal production. Even if you are trembling with nerves, it will not impact your singing. The best way to prevent excessive nervousness is to have faith in your mastery of true singing techniques, which is fundamentally correct.
Mr. Caruso, you mentioned that stage anxiety is something every great artist experiences, and it may even intensify as one gains a deeper understanding of the work. How do you think singers can effectively manage stage anxiety to ensure a good performance, even under high tension? What advice do you have regarding the impact of nervousness on singing?
Answer 19. Singers who are highly regarded and valued by the audience must always pay a certain price for their reputation. Aspiring opera singers frequently seek their opinion on their voices. It may sound surprising, but these individuals are not always young. When you see so many people convinced that they can sing opera and that they were born for the operatic stage, you can't help but feel concerned. In most cases, they have been misled by ignorant and foolish friends, or perhaps by self-serving or fame-seeking teachers who persuade them to waste their time and money on their voices in hopes of achieving fame one day. These individuals do not realize that the renowned singers they hear in opera houses have undergone a rigorous selection process. They also fail to understand that even after years of study and training, only a very small number of exceptionally talented individuals are chosen to join the ranks of these elite artists. People often ask me to listen to their voices. Some have excellent vocal potential and seem promising at first, but over time, it becomes as evident that they lack one essential quality: intelligence, something indispensable for success. Others, on the contrary, seem to possess sharp intellect, quick thinking, and even a beautiful voice, yet they lack the stage presence and broad musical knowledge that are crucial for a great artist. This deficiency is often so apparent in their demeanor that sometimes, even before they have sung a single note, I can already tell them that their efforts will be in vain. However, one cannot reject every person who initially seems unsuitable, because the undiscovered genius we are always searching for may very well be among them. It is important to remember that the greatest geniuses in the world are often discovered entirely by chance, and each time it is by those who have the skill to unearth hidden treasures.
Mr. Caruso, you have mentioned that some candidates seem to have deviated from the right path and struggle to make progress in their vocal journey, sometimes even choosing the wrong repertoire to showcase their voices. Could you elaborate on your thoughts regarding these singers who take the wrong path? How can they determine whether they are truly suited for the opera stage? And how can they avoid going down the wrong path?
Answer 20. Sometimes it can even be quite amusing to observe just how far some people stray from the correct path that could lead them to a brilliant future. Not long ago, a young man came to me with a thick stack of sheet music. His speaking voice sounded as if it came from the depths of a well. He was a deep bass. When I asked him what the matter was, he replied that he found it very difficult to produce the correct pitch. I was certain that, in his case, it truly was difficult because as soon as he began singing scales, both ascending and descending, he immediately went off pitch. By the time he reached the final note, he had completely lost the key. Afterward, he asked me whether I would prefer to hear "Here is Wrath" from the Magic Flute or "Love Me and the World Shall Be Mine." When he began singing the second piece, he stopped midway and asked the accompanist to transpose the key. The accompanist asked, "Transpose down a third?" "No, down an octave," the bass replied in a stentor-like voice. Note 1. Indeed, he had actually lowered the melody by a full octave. I politely yet very clearly suggested that he change careers and pursue a different profession.
Mr. Caruso, you have mentioned that opera singing requires tremendous effort and have emphasized not only vocal technique, but also stage performance and foreign language skills. What special advice do you have for young opera students to help them understand the challenges of this path? How can they fully prepare for such a demanding career?
Answer 21. I want to loudly urge all young people who aspire to sing opera: think carefully. You must understand that this is an extremely demanding profession. Even if you have a beautiful voice and a solid education, you must also master a vast repertoire of roles. Achieving this requires years of intense study and an extraordinary memory. Furthermore, stage performance skills are essential and must also be learned, as they are indispensable for opera singing. One must acquire proficiency in movement, fencing, falling, gestures, and much more. Lastly, given the nature of modern opera, learning several foreign languages is absolutely necessary.
As this interview comes to a close, we sincerely thank Mr. Caruso for taking the time out of his busy schedule to share his invaluable experiences and insights with us. His profound observations not only provide guidance for young singers, but also deepen the understanding of opera for all who love this art form. Once again, we extend our gratitude to Mr. Caruso for his generous sharing and wish him continued brilliance on stage.